Let's take a breath together. Today we're talking about respect as virtue. And I did a little exercise. I tossed it out on the Gospel According to Facebook to see what the mind of the one had to say. And it was really interesting. What I tossed out was, what does virtue mean to you? What does respect mean to you? And I got several responses for respect, all behavioral based, none actually answering the question. There was a lot of, this is how respect shows up, this is how you behave respectfully, but no one actually articulated what respect meant to them. Pretty much the same thing with virtue. The interesting part about the question about virtue, exactly the same question, only 2 responses. Which means, that indicates that's a much more challenging concept. On my particular Facebook account, I have almost 3,000 people. And so out of those, 2 people felt compelled to respond to that. It's like, that might be a little something that's good for us to look at. Okay. The trick is, what the heck do these words mean? Because there's about 60 of us in here right now, and it has at least 60 different definitions. And our definition of those things will change if we leave this room and go hang out in a bar. Because what's respectful in here is a whole different respectful in the bar. Behavior that is acceptable and respectful in a biker bar, not so much in a sports bar. Okay? So it becomes a really fluid concept depending on the proximity of our physical being. My invitation this morning is that we take it out of the physical and into the self. This last song, Respect Yourself. I'm going to call us to a respect of the capital S self. Not this human self, but the self of divinity that is born in us with one agenda: to express itself as our life. Respect, by definition, is all about the human condition in the dictionary. It is literally about behavior. It is a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, and achievements. Now, what if we took that to the infinite? What if we really looked at one another from their abilities, qualities, as an emanation of creation itself? What if we started respecting that everyone we meet, everyone we read about, everyone we watch in a movie or listen to on the radio or any other venue has the qualities, the abilities of divinity itself? Because we do. We can't be made out of it and not be it, not contain it. We had an amazing workshop yesterday on spiritual mind treatment, and we spent a lot of time really understanding that if flour is the basis of a cake, you cannot have a cake that doesn't contain flour. Now, yes, I know some of you are going, there's flourless cake. That's not the one I'm talking about, so stop it. Because if your whatever the ingredient list is for your flourless cake, your cake has to contain those ingredients. Okay? We cannot have water that lacks wetness, because wetness is a property of water. And if you have water that lacks wetness, I want to check it out, because I want to experience that, for crying out loud. Why wouldn't I? Okay? We are made out of it, by it, to be it. And what would change in our collective interactions if we shifted our focus to respect that only? Doesn't mean we don't see behavior, but what if we respected the behavior despite the behavior? Can we get there? Because I think that's what virtue is. Virtue is an embodiment. Virtue is a place where we are so entrenched in our moral compass that it is our way of life, our way of being. Is our moral compass based in effect, based in form, or is it based in our origins? Because if my moral compass is based in the limits of my perspective, of my perception, I'm limited. If it's based in my conservative view of marriage, which I have, okay? I'm liberal in a lot of ways, but I have a very conservative experience of marriage. I've worked on it. I've examined it. I've twisted it. I've turned it. I've Rubik's cubed it. I've navigated it through, is it just my southern roots? And I got to a place where I don't really care. I'm comfortable with it. I'm not imposing it on anyone else. My wife is engaged in it with me by agreement. So that's just my perspective. Will I navigate an experience of your perspective of marriage without superimposing my view of marriage? Now that one took me a little while. I don't understand open marriage. I don't. And I don't have to understand it to support that it works for you. I don't understand polyamorism, mostly because I just can't even imagine tracking that many things at once. I can't. For me. But that doesn't mean it's not okay for you. See, and where we get into trouble, I think, is when I want to superimpose my belief system onto everybody. Everybody. That there is a right way and a wrong way, and there is a really simple way to determine which is which, and let me tell you what it is. My way's the right way, oh, y'all wrong. Okay, moving on. But isn't that how a lot of us show up? See, my way is the right way for me. It doesn't mean it's the right way for you. And then we come into community, and things get messy. Okay? Because there's 60 right ways to do Sierra Center for Spiritual Living in this room. See, some of you are cracking up because you get it. Okay? So we're going to do a little fun time. This is the mind of God. The Dollar Tree. If it were really the mind of God, it would be the free tree. It would be the you already own it tree. So here's the thing. We start with infinite possibility. Yes? And there is a divine idea in the mind of God that looks like blue. Okay? And then someone else has a different idea. Let's say purple. Okay? And then somebody else has yet a different one. And we call it orange, or we call it environmentalism, or we call it liberalism. And we just keep going, and we have different ideas about people's bodies and what they're supposed to look like and what the aging process is supposed to look like, what kind of jobs we're supposed to have, because we got lots of opinions. Who should own what should they do with it while they own it. We got all kinds of opinions, right? And all of those opinions are being activated in the activity of law. And they're being made manifest. But each one of those is actually a part of the infinite, yes? Because everything came out of the mind of the one, right? And then it all gets in there together. And we start seeing something that resembles creation. Okay? And then it gets multiplied. Okay? Because some people jump on the bandwagon of other people, and some people don't. And then all of a sudden, we have even more, and that's the expansion of consciousness. Now, here was the task I set before the class yesterday. And if anybody wants this to work on later, let's say yellow is your opinion. Separate it from the whole. Once it's in there, you can't separate it. You can't. The class tried. They had little beads, but it contains part of the whole. Okay? Once it's in the collective experience, it's there. Now, if we're all made from this, isn't it now part of my experience? Part of my divine self as well? Yeah. So this idea that I am separate in any way, shape, or form in the essence of my being from the things I dislike is delusional. It's just delusional. All right? We bring it back over and over again. Again, I am in no way suggesting that we stick our heads in spiritual sand and become ostriches. Quite the opposite. What I'm calling you up to is an active love of all behaviors beyond the behaviors. An active love, an active oneness with all thinkers beyond what they think and beyond what you think. Because if we are going to survive on this planet of 190 plus countries, of over 7 billion people, we have got to learn to respect one another. We have got to learn to navigate our opinions. I had the gift of spending 2 years living and studying with the elders on the Kuala. The Kuala is the land of the eastern band of the Cherokee, the people of my ancestry. And every day they would give me tasks to do. to teach me. And every day I would go do exactly what they told me to do, whether it was taking the siding off of a house or putting the siding on a house, whether it was pulling weeds or planting crops. It didn't matter. When I came back to meet with the elders at the end of the day, it was always the exact same process. What did you learn about creation today? What did you learn about someone else today? What did you learn about yourself today? And I would, because I knew the questions were coming. After the first 2 weeks, I figured out, oh, that's the only thing y'all going to ask me. And so throughout my day, I began to contemplate those things. What took me longer to catch on to was that no matter what I said, their response was the same. You're getting it, except for those opinions. You're getting it, except for those opinions. Because my opinions are where I separate myself. It's where I step out of oneness and into this idea of supremacy, this idea of superiority, this idea that my way is just ever so slightly better than your way. And we start thinking in our humanness that we're actually special. And we are, in that we are a divine idea in the mind of creation. But let's get really clear. Not one of us is more special than any other creation. I invite you to go to the beach and bring me back the most special grain of sand. Catch rain and bring me the most special raindrop. We don't think about it that way. Most of us, if we have a yard, we mow the grass. How many of us stop and admire the most special blade of grass? Give it extra attention. Talk to it, water it, nourish it, pet it. We just mow the grass. What if we stopped singling one another out? What if we stopped following our opinion to establish our concept of creation and flip the paradigm to allow creation itself to inform our experience of a fact? Thomas Troward says it this way. So long as we judge only the information conveyed to us by the outward senses, we are working on the plane of secondary causation and see nothing but a succession of conditions, forming part of an endless train of antecedent conditions coming out of the past and stretching away into the future. And from this point of view, we are under the rule of an iron destiny from which there seems no possibility of escape. What he's telling us is stop defining your experience of creation by form. We talk about new thought. Have one. I beg of you, have one. Look at form, notice your first thought, and then have a new one about that form. Go to a bigger experience of that form. Challenge yourself to see what's there that you're not seeing. Because if we are made out of love, by love, to be loved, then by God itself, love has to be there. I dare you to find it. I dare you. Beyond our opinions, beyond our politics, find love. Because that's all that's there. Everything else is just an expression of that. Don't get fooled by the form. Don't get lost in the thing. Because when we do, we have consented to live in limitation. And we are so much more than that. One of the things that we did in the class yesterday was we played with how the one mind presents itself when we get out of the way. And so there were 5 pieces of paper, the flip chart paper, each with a step. And each person wrote what was alive in them for that step, folded it up so no one else could see it. Okay? And we went through the process to allow creation itself to speak a treatment for Sierra Center for Spiritual Living as us. I invite you to close your eyes and just experience the brilliance of the mind as that class yesterday. I recognize the one is all there is. It is everything that exists, seen and unseen, known and unknown. It is omnipresent and omnipotent. It is infinite possibility. It is the only thing, so it is everything. It is the I am, the infinite of form. I am unified with and within this one. And what is true of me is true of Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. So I recognize that Sierra Center for Spiritual Living is a point of this one, is a part of this one, is one within the one. In its unification with the one, Sierra Center for Spiritual Living is the infinite in form. It is expansive and magnetic. It is infinite potential, unlimited and unquantified. It is the thing itself in form. Knowing this to be true, I speak my word, claiming a realization of Sierra Center for Spiritual Living as the omnipresence and omnipotence of the one, as love, joy, purpose, and freedom. I affirm a realization of Sierra Center for Spiritual Living, infinite potential, as an active, volatile container of creativity, action, and possibility, as a loving, accepting, safe place of spiritual tools, realizing its unlimited nature of all of creation, as the one itself. I am grateful that so much creative power has been concentrated in one loving place, that Sierra Center for Spiritual Living is joyously creating a thriving community, that Sierra Center for Spiritual Living is a complete expression of the I am as the form and activity of God, seen and unseen. That Sierra Center for Spiritual Living supports and knows this truth. So from this place of gratitude, this knowing, I release my word, the word of the one, this truth. All the activities of the center, all the activities of our individual personal lives, into the creative activity of law that quietly does what is to be done without needing a single thing. Knowing it is whole, perfect, and complete. I release letting the garden of creation grow. All of creation, all is creation. So all already is, so all is done. It's a done deal. I let it go, and so it is.